Welcome to Pop Culture Warriors, presented by the Post Millennial. I'm your host, Brett Smith. Joining me is my co-host, Lisa DiPasquale. On this episode, from Christopher Nolan with Love is the New American Dream, just to be entertained.
Are you not entertained?
Anime has risen with Angel Studios. And 80s Lakers Showtime was then, winning time is now. Before we jump in, make sure and subscribe to the Post Millennial on YouTube and Rumble, and follow Pop Culture Warriors on X at PopC Warriors. And with that, let's kick things off with the news. So the James Bond franchise is looking to reboot with a new actor, but Bond producer Barbara Broccoli is also looking for a new director. And the rumor is she is zeroing in on Oppenheimer and Dark Knight trilogy filmmaker Christopher Nolan. She has already had discussions with Nolan about directing 2 Bond films, but no deal has been struck. So this isn't really anything new. Broccoli and Nolan were in talks back in 2017 for him to direct a Bond, but the timing wasn't right because of Nolan's schedule and prior commitments. It looks like now the timing could be right, given Nolan is coming off the massive success of Oppenheimer, which has now surpassed $900 billion worldwide at the box office, that's astounding. Nolan's made it clear on many occasions he would love to direct a Bond film, saying it would be a true privilege and likening it to working on Batman as far as having similar creative constraints. That being said, the only hiccups in his talks with Broccoli is how much creative freedom he would be given. Barbara Broccoli rarely gives directors full creative freedom, and the report is that Nolan wants to take over the entire creative process, which is not surprising to me at all. Nolan has always said his favorite Bond films are the Sean Connery films, which is interesting because his vision apparently would be to do straight adaptations of Ian Fleming's books, and in doing so, make both films period pieces set in the 1950s and 1960s. So I think we could see films similar to the Connery period, which I think would be amazing. I love that period in history from a visual standpoint. So I'm 100% behind this. Plus, sticking to Fleming's source material and the period setting in the 1950s and 60s means we will have zero chance of having any kind of woke nonsense injected into these movies. It would also mean a return to the analog world of traditional spycraft, similar to the last Mission Impossible film, which was very fun and refreshing. So I am all in for Christopher Nolan taking on 2 Bond films. I think the franchise could really use the kind of creative muscle that only an auteur director such as Nolan can offer. And I think if Barbara Broccoli has the courage to hand over the creative control to Nolan, he will reinvigorate the franchise, which it desperately needs. Plus, I think they will print money at the box office. But let us know in the comments, would you like to see Chris Nolan make a James Bond film? And if he did, what do you think it would look like? Do you think we will see something close to the Connery period? And also let us know who you think would make the best James Bond as far as the new actor. I'm a Henry Cavill guy, but I think he's too old at this point, which is sad. Lisa, you haven't seen most of the James Bond films, but what do you think about Chris Nolan directing a Bond film?
I mean, way to out me, but yeah, I mean, I think Christopher Nolan, I mean, the good thing is like, if you're going to give someone 100% creative control, like if you've previously been burned and don't want to do it, I think you're going to be safe giving it, to him.
Yeah.
And, the one thing that you mentioned about it being a period piece and sticking to the source material, and it's kind of like what we saw in Oppenheimer, and that's that, you can make the secretaries all women and just be like, that's how it was at the time,
Yeah.
As far as a Bond, I mean, I don't know if I agree that Henry is too old. I mean, I know that's like the prevailing wisdom for who Bond is written to be. It's just that he doesn't look that old. I think, if anything, when I think of him now, he's probably too buff when I think of, past Bonds. I just hope it's weird because you have to, like, he's never been the most, like, I don't know if masculine is the word to say, like, rough, or, rugged Bond, right? So I understand that's not who that character is going to be, but I don't want like a Timothy Chalamet type.
Yeah, we definitely want a masculine Bond. I think that's important, and that's what I think. Henry oozes masculinity, and I think after this last Mission Impossible, I could just see it so perfectly. So he did lose out to Craig when they recast. Henry was second runner up. He was also second.
And Craig is pretty rugged for Bond standards.
Yeah, he was. A lot of critics at the time said he wasn't handsome enough, that he had too much of a boxer's face, which I thought was kind of an interesting kind of take because coming off Roger Moore, who's very debonair, very handsome and suave, it was definitely out of left field to cast somebody like Craig.
Well,
But
I
it was
remember the Drudge headline when it was announced that it was Daniel Craig was James Blonde.
right, because he was the first blonde
That
James
was like
Bond.
the big, like, this cannot be.
Yeah,
Imagine like that we changed the hair color and people freaked and all the other things they want to do.
yeah.
Like, I mean, it's ridiculous. Like, that's not gonna fly.
Well, they also said that Craig was too buff
Mhm.
in Casino Royale, which I thought was kind of interesting. And then I think he slimmed down. But Henry is definitely going to have to lose some muscle if he was to take on a role like this. But I think he'd be perfect for it. But they're looking to cast a little bit younger. I think they want a Bond in his mid to late 30s, and I think that Henry is. I think he's 39. I think he's approaching 40, and they thought a 40-year-old Bond might be too old.
What
So.
do you think about I always mess up his name, but who played Oppenheimer?
They've talked about Cillian Murphy as a potential.
He's Irish, right?
Yeah, I'm just not sure if Cillian is big enough. I don't know if he's big and tall enough, and that was kind of my issue because he tried out for Batman as well.
Mhm.
And there's screen tests of him out there on Batman Begins. He ultimately got the Scarecrow part, which
Mhm.
he was amazing as. But yeah, this is a tough one. I think there's a bunch of names. Tom Hardy. They've even talked to Idris Elba, even though he said I don't think there should be a black James Bond. I'd rather them create a new character for me to play within the James Bond universe, which I think would be amazing.
Mhm.
008. Um,
Also, Christopher Nolan likes to work with a lot of the same people, so I feel
yeah.
like you gotta, and especially if he ends up with 100% control, you have to look at like the Nolan universe.
I think it's exciting that they're talking to, a director of Nolan's caliber, because that means that they're serious about rebooting it, and they're serious about doing it big and bold, which I think is exactly what Bond deserves.
Yeah.
So we'll
Well, and
see.
also, I mean, they're ready to, you know, do another big box office run, because I mean, it's also committing. It's not just, committing to like, let's make another movie. It's like, it's going to be, several, because they're going to use the same guy.
Mhm.
And I think like committing to someone like Nolan is really, and that Nolan would do it is also, a great thing for Nolan fans, because, you're going to get 2, 3, 4 movies out of him.
Yeah, easy. They're talking about 2 movies, and I can easily see that turning into a trilogy if he was to take on Bond.
Next up is the new American dream to be entertained. When I saw this story, I thought it was so interesting because it always reminds me of the Breitbart quote, politics is downstream from culture.
Mhm.
And that's that, according to a study from Luminate on entertainment and cultural trends, it appears that Americans are now spending 50% of our waking hours being entertained, which is up 22% since last year. So we're not here to argue whether that's good or bad and how people should spend their times. Maybe they should spend it working out or with their kids, or maybe they're doing both, being entertained while working out or
Right.
while with their kids. But it definitely shows that there's a golden opportunity for conservatives and creatives on the right to reach out to the normies, which is a term of endearment from us,
Mhm.
through that visual storytelling, through mediums within entertainment that most people enjoy. And one group of creatives on the center right who have noticed this and the trend and are taking full advantage of the situation is Angel Studios. They just came off of The Sound of Freedom, and they're back with now a sci-fi thriller, and also anime. And what I think is great is that it's not just another, since they just finished like a big drama, serious issue movie, they're following up with a different genre altogether.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, from child trafficking to sci-fi action thriller and now anime. So after the incredible success with The Sound of Freedom this year, which has now earned $230 million worldwide off of a $14 million budget, Angel Studios already has a follow-up film coming out, which is a sci-fi thriller called The Shift. The Shift stars Neil McDonough, Sean Astin, and Christopher Palaha. The film's description reads, after a tense encounter with a mysterious stranger and otherworldly powers, a man is banished to a tyrannical parallel Earth where he fights to get back to the woman he loves. The Shift is in theaters December 1st, and we will link to that trailer for everyone to check out, so you can go check it out.
Yeah, because so often we get like this one and done scenario from conservatives where they have something successful, but there's not an immediate follow up. And, they kind of lose all that big buzz that they had. And it's just like, oh, remember that time, we all went to the theater
Yeah.
and had this big moment.
Yeah.
So I think it's great that Angel Studios is, delivering films, a TV series on a regular basis and really competing for viewers in the market on multiple genres like the left does and like Hollywood in general does. Multiple genres, multiple platforms.
Yeah, they're on Netflix. I mean, the Chosen's on Netflix. You can order their videos or their movies on Amazon Prime. So they're competing everywhere, which is great.
Well, and also I think they're keeping in mind just because conservatives or I'm not into something doesn't mean there's not this entire audience that's not into something. And so that is what you're seeing with anime. Like I'm not into anime and manga, but they obviously know that it is a hugely popular entertainment among Americans, young and old. It looks like they're definitely going for the younger demo with the anime series Gabriel and the Guardians. And it's described as, quote, an anime influence series set in the enchanting world of Era, where celestial beings, mortals, and dark giants collide in a battle for destiny and light. The show's creator, James Moody, said, quote, just like the Tolkien's Middle Earth is influenced by Northern European mythos, our fantasy world of Era is shaped by the lore and mythos found in ancient Hebrew writings and Mesopotamian cultures. And I think what's important to remember, because I can almost kind of see ahead, all the people that are like pagan, that is that Tolkien, C.S. Lewis, they all use that fantasy and sci-fi genre to get across, in their case, Christian themes.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's fantasy, it's sword and sorcery. But at the same time, the messages underneath are Christian and Western Civ, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, talk about jumping into a hugely popular medium among Americans, both young and old, and that is anime and manga. I think this is a really, really smart move because they see this huge market, and they also see young people, and they're going to go and fill that vacuum, which I think is just brilliant. So I've seen the trailer for this, and the animation looks very solid. It's very authentic looking. They have even hired some very talented, well-recognized anime voice actors, some of whom have worked on Akira, Mobile Suit Gundam, Star Wars, The Clone Wars, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Batman, Green Arrow, and Spider-Man. So, these are all talented voice actors who are working in mainstream entertainment.
Imagine that conservatives hiring people that actually do that for a living.
Well, yeah. And who knows what these people's politics are. They're just trying to go out and hire the very best talent. So they end up with a fantastic piece of entertainment that looks and feels authentic and connects with the audience. As far as I'm concerned, when you're creating something, the less risk, the better. And you're always going to be far better off hiring the best. You have a much better chance of ending up with a great product and a great piece of entertainment and a great performance or a great piece of art. So it makes sense to me. Angel Studios Chief Content Officer Jeffrey Harmon says of the series, anime is a growing market around the world, and Angel Studios has expressed incredible excitement about this series. We are excited to step into this market, bringing what we believe to be the first equity crowdfunded anime influence series to life.
Well, and I think a lot of people are like, wait, is anime popular? Like, I've never heard of this. I don't know what that is. Is that the weird Japanese art? And I kind of first started seeing it from Taz, the resident artist from Red Eye, who we're great friends with. And before you think these are just like one-off and they're into something weird, as it turns out, almost 2/3 or 63.5% of Americans enjoy anime. And right now, the anime market share in North America is over $24 billion. So why would conservatives or anyone in the entertainment not want a piece of that?
Yeah.
And approximately 74% of US Netflix subscribers have watched an anime series on the platform. 27% of anime viewers in the US watch it daily. Also, the US anime market share accounts for approximately 33% of total revenue for the global anime industry. And most importantly, 39% of US anime viewers are between the ages of 18 and 24. So, yes, young people watch anime, and Angel Studios is looking to reach young people, which is very smart.
Right.
It's not just on your boomer dad's website, who decides to release a movie or something,
Right.
which a lot of them have done and done so well. But it's also about thinking ahead. And, I don't know if there's been like a huge outreach beyond entertainment from the left. Certainly not any that's been on our radar.
Mhm.
So, I mean, I think this is like a fantastic opportunity to do something new and before the left.
I mean, this really surprised me because Angel Studios obviously is making films and they've got their TV series, but to make a jump into the genre was surprising, but at the same time, it's not. We've got 3 generations of Americans who have been raised on anime, starting with Gen Xers in the late 70s. Shows like Astro Boy, Robotech, Battle of the Planets, Speed Racer. These were all shows that were brought over from Japan and edited for Americans.
I was going to say the most popular one, because I had asked you earlier if that counted, and I think people are like, I've never heard of it. It's like, have you heard of Pokemon?
Right. Right.
And then you might know of it from the game or the cards or the TV show, which I used to watch when I was in college and didn't have cable.
Yeah.
That's like how prevalent it's gotten.
Yeah, it started in the 70s, grew in the 80s, and then exploded in the 90s with Dragon Ball Z and Pokemon. And those are 2 of the most popular at this point, and probably the most recognizable around America. So it's definitely been a growing market over the years. But at this point, with 3 generations and that many people watching anime on a regular basis, it makes perfect sense. Angel Studios will also be producing Gabriel and the Guardians in manga format as well, which is another absolute genius move, given that manga now makes up more than 79% of the American comic book industry. Yes, you heard that right. Of the American comic book industry, Marvel and DC and American independent publishers only make up for 9% of total sales because too many have become machines of regurgitating woke propaganda to readers. So another smart move by Angel Studios by moving into a market like manga, like anime, to reach young people and fill a very big vacuum in the market. Do you watch anime or read manga? Let us know in the comments below, and let us know if you'll be checking out The Shift as well as Gabriel and the Guardians. Our next review is of the HBO-produced series Winning Time, Rise of the LA Lakers Dynasty, which debuted in 2022 with Season 1 and this year with Season 2. It's an absolutely brilliant show. However, like other brilliant shows from HBO like Deadwood and Rome, Winning Time has now been canceled after 2 seasons, which is a real shame. That being said, it's a very special and unique series that we can't recommend enough, and you don't have to be a basketball fan to enjoy this series. Lisa, you are not a basketball fan, and she loves it. So that's a great endorsement. Winning Time is based on the book Showtime, Magic, Kareem, Riley, and the Los Angeles Lakers Dynasty of the 1980s by Jeff Pearlman. The series is a dramatization of the personal and professional lives of the 80s Lakers, with the first season focusing on the years 1979 to 1980, when Dr. Jerry Buss first purchased the team, which was also Magic Johnson's rookie year. The second season takes place between 1980 and 1984. The series revolves around the beginning of the 1980s Showtime era of the Los Angeles Lakers, featuring now NBA legends Magic Johnson and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and the beginning of the bitter rivalry between Magic and Boston Celtic Larry Bird. The series features an ensemble cast led by John C. Reilly as owner Dr. Jerry Buss, Jason Clarke as Jerry West, Adrian Brody as Pat Riley, and Quincy Isaiah as Magic Johnson, who absolutely is transformative. He just transforms into Magic. The smile, everything. The guy's amazing. And frankly,
well, I mean, all of them, but also Pat Riley. Like,
yeah, Brody.
If I think about Lakers history and Pat Riley, I don't know if I think about Pat Riley or if I think about Adrian Brody.
Yeah, I know. Now I kind of get them mixed up in my head when I think about them at this point,
Mhm,
because the show was so good, and they really just sort of embody the characters so
mhm,
perfectly. The writing in Winning Time is often satirical and tongue-in-cheek humor, but it can also be very sincere, heartfelt, and moving in many ways. I think if you're familiar with movies like North Dallas 40, Major League, Any Given Sunday, Bad News Bears, Slapshot, Bull Durham, and Breaking Away, you will really like this series. Winning Time also pulls elements from 80s movies and TV shows, like characters breaking the fourth wall, musical montages, and even an animated Celtic leprechaun among live action, kind of like Roger Rabbit. Also, if you're looking for a series which really truly transports you back to the 1980s, this is the best visually I've ever seen. I'd say it's even better than Stranger Things or Air, which are both very good in portraying the 1980s. But Winning Time not only looks the part with the production, the props, wardrobe, and the sets and the cars, but it's also filmed the way movies were made during that era, using vintage cameras and VHS camcorders. And it's filmed really cool. It's filmed in 3 different ways throughout both seasons. For most of the seasons, it's filmed in like a 35 millimeter cinematic widescreen format. Then they cut to a 16 millimeter film format, and then cut to VHS camcorder format. And it's all perfectly edited, so it's not jarring.
mhm,
In fact, they use the camera in different formats as a way to convey different emotions within the scenes and within the characters, from bravado and power to vulnerability and fear. And I
mhm.
just think the look and the texture and the colors that these 3 different formats give you, it just transports you and gives you this fully immersive feel when you're watching it. You really feel like you're back in that time period, which
Mhm.
I do when I watch it.
Well, and also, like, I got the feeling in some of the when they were using some of the different film, it's like the times when it's like you're seeing something that's never been seen, you're like a fly on the wall, like, this is not a
Mhm.
conversation that anyone was privy to.
Right. Other than 2 people having it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
For those that don't know, like me, that don't know what millimeters and all that, it's like some of them have, like, a home movie feel.
Yes. Winning Time is ultimately about masculine, tough, competitive men. They're also good men, certainly flawed men, but they all strive to become better athletes, teammates, coaches, owners, world champions, but more importantly, fathers. I think the overarching theme in Winning Time is about the importance of fathers and father figures and how essential they are in life. And it's not only a series which is very pro fatherhood, it's also very pro life. It has a lot of pro life themes. I think it might be the most pro fatherhood series next to Cobra Kai right now. I think that makes it very unique.
Mhm. And Yellowstone.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, for sure.
It also touches, I think, on the strong and instrumental women behind all of these strong masculine men. I mean, we saw it in
Mhm.
Air, like with Michael Jordan's
His
mother,
mom. Yeah.
and a very similar role with Magic Johnson's mother, and with Jeannie Buss, Jerry Buss's daughter.
Mhm.
And the tough masculine men have been hard to come by over the last 20 years or so with mainstream entertainments, especially mainstream commercials. They
Yeah.
are beginning to make a return, and I think it's becoming a trend with the success of series that have masculine characters that are doing really well. So, like Terminalist, Reacher, Tulsa King, Yellowstone. And I think it's really easy to bag on Hollywood a lot, but don't forget, at the end of the day, they want to get paid. And that's kind of like one of the reasons it's so great to support entertainment that have the themes and the characters, that you like, because it's a way of signaling, it's like the boycott. We want to
Mhm.
see more Yellowstone, more Terminalists, more people fighting bad guys, or
Yep.
men fighting bad guys, and well, and women too.
Mhm.
But I also love the rags to riches story of Jerry Buss. And it's definitely not intended, because there are some digs at Donald Trump. But I mean, you cannot deny that Jerry is not a little bit like Trump in his bravado, certainly in real estate. And he has 2 sons and one kind of favored daughter. And it's really like similar to a Trump type of guy, tying together the series when it comes to risk and reward, not being afraid to take big risks, going for the brass ring, and just the American dream in general. He comes from a single mom, and the single mom is very much involved in the business, which is just such a great storyline. Sally Field plays his mother.
Yeah, she's great.
Yeah. And so in that sense, it's very risky business, which, many years ago when I wrote about the movies that define the generations, I wrote, and I'm sure you probably planted that seed, that risky business is, the Gen X movie.
Mm-hmm.
And so when it comes to Jerry Buss, who risked his entire fortune just to buy the team, and then through hard work and perseverance and a vision that at times he is the only one who can see it.
That's very true.
He, turns into not only a world championship team, but the premier professional sports organization ever. There's just a lot of things to like. To me, the thing that makes a series like that kind of seals the deal, like this is a great show, and that's when you know the outcome, but you're still like on the edge of your seat, like they won.
Right. Yeah.
But Pat Riley eventually becomes head coach, but you're still like, oh my God, I hope he gets it.
Yeah. Yeah, I knew I was a Suns fan growing up, so the Lakers were the enemy. But at the same time, I knew a little bit about the early Lakers, but I didn't know a whole lot. And when I watched this when it originally came out, I kind of fought myself from going to Google and sort of spoiling it for myself. So I just let it unfold as each episode came out. And I knew they had won the first year of Magic's rookie year, but I didn't really know much after that. I just knew that growing up in the 80s, the Bird Magic feud was everything. Like that defined NBA basketball, and it saved NBA basketball. Those games between the Lakers and the Celtics are just legendary, and they're amazing. You want to talk about real life heroics. It's incredible. It's like, it's like a big, it's like Clash of the Titans, type stuff at this point. It's funny. I didn't really think about the Trump parallels between Trump and Buss, but there are definitely a lot of them. A lot, we're not just talking about the comb over, this is Buss. They came from like the Dust Bowl, Midwest to California. And he built it from nothing. Sally Field's amazing. I think this is probably one of my favorite roles she's ever done. She's really funny, and like you were talking about, the strong women behind these men. Pat Riley's wife. Obviously Jeannie's an incredible character.
Yeah, there's also a great cameo. If you know anything about Jeannie, the real life Jeannie Buss, and how everything turned out with her, there's a great cameo of the person that plays Kareem's agent.
Right. Jay Moore.
But one thing I think is important because we're talking about the importance of father figures and the strong women, and that's that there's always this view that one is at the expense of the other, and it's like, no, you can have both. I mean, that's like the beauty of the sexes, is that they complement each other in different times.
Yeah. And in different ways, and in different situations as well. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, like you don't have to have this what's her face Captain Marvel and all the men in are weak, because there's a strong woman, so therefore all the men are weak and bad.
Another wonderful thing about Winning Time is that it all happened in the 1980s, so it's not chock full of woke propaganda. Similar to what I said about Nolan wanting to do a Bond film with a period setting of Fleming's novels, and how that will yield a non-woke Bond because it's in period and none of that far-left propaganda can be shoehorned into the storyline, and stay true to the period and suspend the viewer's disbelief at the same time, because that crap simply didn't exist back then. It's similar to Mad Men, and another fantastic series, one of our favorites, which was a period setting, and because of that, stayed true to that period.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's interesting that if you're in TV or movies, or really any artistic medium for that matter, if you want to create something mainstream but woke free, you have to go to the past to tell your story. And just because you do so doesn't mean, all of the women characters are wallflowers. I mean, if you watch Mad Men, anyone can tell you who runs the office. Joni.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, Roger agrees, Don agrees. But there's also the truth, like between Joni and her husband, there's the truth of the times. And that's what I think is so great about the period pieces. It kind of gives you, the best of both worlds. I think it'll be interesting in 20 or 30 years how they retell now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully it will be like my book, The Social Justice Warrior Handbook, or PCU, where it's just making fun of it. Like, can you believe they were like that?
Yeah. Yeah. I hope it's largely mocked
Hmm.
as much as possible. I hope the comedians in 30 or 40 years have a heyday with
Hmm.
what's going on these days and our descent into the woke mind virus.
Yeah.
Um, anyway, I did recommend Winning Time to Dean Cain last year because he grew up in LA during that time and went to a lot of Lakers games, especially that first year that Magic Johnson was drafted. And he even went and partied at the Forum Club back in the day. And he said he watched season 1 and he loved it. He said the filmmakers really nailed the era and the look and the feel. And he said he actually watched it with his son. Son's older, and they both enjoyed season 1. So we'll have to ask him about season 2 when we have him on.
The other thing, because of my Gen Z, I believe it's Gen Z coworker, and for millennials, is now both seasons are out. So if you're like one of those people, and let us know in the comments if this is like a young person thing and we're just oldsters, that you wait till the whole season is done so you can binge watch it, or do you prefer the episodic, where you get to watch one a week and then you wait for the next week? Because I thought that was very odd.
Yeah, that is weird. See, I like the episodic because I like to anticipate it, look forward to it, sit down and watch it when it's premiering, and then um, I'm left with another 4 or 5 days to think about it and to
Yeah.
ruminate on it and to enjoy it for what it was and all that it is. And then I start anticipating the next episode and looking forward to it. And then, it's like it's the ritual of must-see TV in, probably the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, before everything was dropped on you all at once.
Mhm.
You had to be in a particular spot at a particular time to watch your show. So that's kind of, maybe that is the old way of doing it. Now everybody's kind of like, oh, I'll wait till all of them are out, or they drop them all like Netflix does, and then you just sit there and binge them over an entire weekend, which I think is lame.
But I think there's some, like, even when they've dropped them all, I feel like we still watch. Maybe we'll watch 2 episodes in a row
Yeah,
over a couple days, but definitely not like over a weekend.
right. Cobra Kai, they always drop them all at once, and I'll typically, and it's tough sometimes, because a show like that, which is really good, you want to keep going, but I'll typically do 1 or 2, and then I'll wait like a day, maybe a couple days, just again to kind of ruminate on it, think on it,
Hmm.
and just absorb it as a great piece of art and a great
Hmm.
piece of entertainment. So
Yeah, it's great. You don't want like your, what is it, 50% of your time spending on entertainment. It's then on something good is gone after a weekend, and then you got to look for something else.
yeah, right, exactly. Sometimes it's just best to, like, stare off into space and just think about your favorite show.
Yeah.
There's not enough of that these days. Everybody's got their head and their face in their phone. So
Mhm.
try staring off into space and just daydream and think about your favorite TV show.
Mhm.
Also, just a heads up, Winning Time would probably carry an R rating. However, it doesn't have anything in it I hadn't already seen on cable TV by the age of, I don't know, 14 or 15. So there is language, there is sex, there is
Boobs.
some boobs, some violence. What else? There's a lot of smoking.
Mhm.
Everybody's a chimney on this show. Which is exactly how the 80s was. 70s, 80s, everybody smoked.
Mhm.
Everybody was smoking inside. People were smoking everywhere. The smoking section was literally pretty much everywhere outside of restaurants. People drink. There is some mild drug stuff in it, but nothing crazy. So I love how Magic is a total teetotaler. He's just a Coca-Cola man throughout the whole thing.
Well, also, what's important, I think, to realize is, like when we were talking about father figures and the good and the bad, it's not the one character that everyone knows is a drug addict. It is not glamorizing his life.
Not at all.
Things go pretty south for him.
Yeah, you're talking about Spencer Haywood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think there's nothing wrong with showing, some of the realities of that behavior.
Yeah, I mean, and look at the cost. So I'm not going to
He
spoil it.
lost him on.
Yeah, the actor who portrays him is fantastic,
Mhm.
absolutely fantastic. He's so good.
The show is so good and the actors are so good. It just also makes it more puzzling of how it ended. Not how the show, I guess not how the show ended, but that there's only 2 seasons.
Yeah, yeah, they definitely. had more in the tank. I could see definitely 3 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't read the book, but now I'm going to, because I'm just curious where the rest of the book goes. But yeah, it's disappointing. Season 1 has 10 episodes. Season 2 has 7. I feel like that it should have been another full 10 episodes, but I don't know if it was the strike. I don't know if it was the budget. I have no idea what the deal was, but they kind of shortchange season 2. And I almost feel like they started off writing it in one way, which possibly could have had 10 episodes, and then somewhere mid-series they switched to, oh shit, we got to wrap up in 3 episodes or something. That's kind of what it felt like. They had to sort of change directions in order to accommodate a 7 episode series rather than a 10. So you're talking about compression.
Mm-hmm.
And the second season does jump around a lot, which is probably my biggest criticism. But
yeah, I mean, I guess you're left wanting more instead of it going out like, Game of Thrones or something.
yeah, it's tough. I mentioned Deadwood, which was a brilliant show, which was cut short after 3 seasons, and then finally got a movie, largely thanks to the fan base that year after year after year, people kept saying, when are we going to get Deadwood movie? And David Milch made it happen. He stuck with it. He's an amazing guy. And it's the same with Rome. It's the same with Rome. That was a fantastic series. It could have continued on. I felt like the ending was definitely sort of rushed in a sense, because that show was very expensive. And I know one of the reasons why they cut it short was because of the costs. Same with Deadwood, really expensive show. But these are amazing pieces of art and entertainment. I mean, all 3 of these series are sort of the perfect time capsule, or time travel back to that period to tell a really compelling and entertaining story with compelling characters. And it's just a shame that there wasn't enough audience, frankly, from what I've read, for Winning Time. And
I guess the first season they released during basketball season.
Yep.
Right? And then the second one was kind of rushed because it was like nothing was, not rushed, it seems like, in the release, because it seemed like we went from not knowing when to, it's like in 1 month.
Yep.
Because there wasn't really any other entertainment in the can because of the strike. And then it kind of like probably, hurt the numbers. So like my hope is, although I think it's unlikely because of the way that it ended, is all you bingers will make the numbers like skyrocket.
That would be nice.
Wait, let's do a 3rd season.
Yeah, there was talk that maybe they would shop it to Netflix or some other Amazon, some other production companies to see if they're interested. You never know. I would love to see a season 3. That's what happened to Cobra Kai. Cobra Kai started out on YouTube Red. YouTube decided they didn't want to produce it anymore. Sony Pictures is the ones, I think, is where it's shot. They're the main producers behind it. But YouTube didn't want it anymore, and they were going to do with YouTube Red. So Netflix picked it up, which was genius, because it's probably one of the main reasons I keep my Netflix account is I want to see what happens to Cobra Kai. All right, so moving on to our last segment, Pop Culture Warriors to support. My buddy Eric Weathers has a new graphic novel out called Battle Brick Road 2, which is a follow-up to his first graphic novel, Battle Brick Road 1. Battle Brick Road is an action-packed retelling of The Wizard of Oz. The story is described as, on a desperate search for her missing father, Thea Gale, and her trusty protector drone, Toto, descend into the bizarre world of Oz, governed by 4 powerful robotic beings known as the Watchers. Oz is home to a vast assortment of genetic hybrids, roving androids, and a mysterious scarecrow on a quest for vengeance. Can Thea form a team, find her father, and survive her journey down the Battle Brick Road? This is a crowdfunded book and has already met its goal, so it's going to ship. Eric told me it's going to ship in the spring of 2024. Right now, he's finishing it up. He's raised $29,000 from 492 backers, which is impressive. The interior artwork looks really solid, all done by Eric. The series is written by Zeb Hatfield. When you order your copy of Battle Brick Road 2, make sure and order covers A or B, because those are the covers that I colored for the series. Eric also does have a bundle available where you can get issues 1 and 2 together at a discount, which is the Dynamic Duo Bundle. You can pick this up at Eric's website, battlebrickroad.com, and we will link to his site, and we encourage everyone to pick up a copy and support him.
That sounds really cool. Our second pop culture warrior to support is our very good friend, Kurt Schlichter, who has a new book out in his Kelly Turnbull People's Republic series called Overlord. This is Kurt's 8th book in a very popular series, and it sounds amazing. Has a great cover, as all his books do. It is a novel, which I appreciate. When people write something other than I'm a conservative and this is why. So the description of Overlord is, quote, Kelly Turnbull is back in his 8th People's Republic adventure, and this time everything is on the line for him and for Red America. A rogue general who wants Kelly in a grave has escaped into Blue America to execute a treacherous plan that will get him the revenge and the power he seeks. But Kelly and his loyal dog Gibson, so you know I'm a fan, are coming for payback, and they are bringing hellfire and a lot of guns with them. From the jungles of West Africa to post-Second British Civil War London, from a desperate fight on a New Orleans causeway to riding the Underground Railroad backwards into the People's Republic and through a bloody rescue mission during a full-scale invasion of the island of Manhattan, Overlord delivers the action and the humor that People's Republic readers demand. Also, our good friend Sean Salter, who does the artwork for Kurt's covers for this series, did a beautiful job on the cover of Overlord. We love them all, but this one is especially stunning, as I mentioned, because you can see the dog. And you can pick it up on Amazon, which we'll link to below. And we will definitely have Kurt soon to talk about Overlord and the entire Kelly Turnbull series. And it's great to see, another side of Kurt, right?
Yeah.
So he's kind of like in his wheelhouse, right? As far as, Red and Blue America. But him going into this genre is really cool to see people on our side doing that.
Absolutely. He's creating something cool that normies can enjoy. Sadly, we have to wrap up. Make sure and like and subscribe to the Post Millennial for more Pop Culture Warrior videos like this one. Also, leave us a comment and let us know what you think of this video. Also, follow us on X @PopCWarriors. That's all we have time for today. Thanks, and see you next time.